So I think we are on time, so we'll start now. So again, I welcome you all for this second session, but this is our first technical session on IBMi training, uh, the internship program, which being arranged by programmers.io. In this session, will be these are the topics which will be covered today: introduction to IBMi, history of IBMi, menu, like what is the menu-driven system, IBMi, work management, job queues, out queues, what is the library objects, physical file, logical file, and little bit about programming and license program and user profile. Sequence may be different as you see here. Okay, so let's go about overview of IBMi. And my request, please do not raise your hands. We'll do all Q&A at the end. Okay, so IBMi, which was like still people use different names, which is AS400, but IBMi is the latest name, which was launched in 1969, and it was first named as System 3 S3. And over the time, different versions were launched by IBM. Like in 1975, it was launched as an S32. In 1977 as S34, and then in 1983 it was launched as an S36. And then in 1988, the IBM launched it with rebranding as an AS400. And in next slide, you can see different history or journey of IBMi before we go to the features. So let's see this journey of IBMi system. So as we said, in 1983, it was S36, which was quite popular at that time. And then in 1988, IBM rebranded it as an AS400. And this name was quite popular. Even a lot of people take this name today also. Sorry, actually, I'm having a lot of chat. Uh, if you can lower the hands, people who have raised, please. And then in
Yes.
2000, it was renamed as an I series. In 2006, as System I. 2008, the name was given IBMi, and it was launched on Power Machines. And then till then, since then, IBM is continuing, introducing the new versions of Power Machines. The latest one is Power N10, which is quite powerful. It supports AI also. And then every 3 to 4 years, IBM launches new release. Like in 2014, 7.2 was released. 2016, it was 7.3. And latest one is 7.5, which was launched in 2022. 7.5 is the latest one. And for each release, IBM has a life cycle of almost 7 years. And then there is an extended period of, depending on IBM, like it may be 4 to 5 years, it can be more than 5 years also, but then you get extended support for 5 years also. So typically it is 10 years you get support from IBM. Okay, so let's go about previous slides about features. Okay. So key features of IBMi. The IBMi comes with an integrated OS and database. So when you buy this server, you will get operating system and database together. You don't have to buy a separate database. That's make it quite unique. Like in other operating systems, you might have seen that you have to buy database separately, but that's not the case here. That's why it's quite secure, safe, reliable, stable also. And that is the reason many financial organizations rely their operations on IBMi. Many ERP systems, still use IBMi. And that is quite popular because of all these features. When it comes to the security, IBMi is, if you use in traditional manner, the chances of getting it hacked or getting virus is close to zero. But nowadays, people have exposed their servers on web also, because you cannot work in silo. You have to be accessible outside also. In that case, you have to apply some security measures. That's why this is, I would say, one of the most secure systems in the earth. So this we have already seen history of IBMi. Okay, user profile. Let's go to a practical part for this. So everybody can see my IBM ACS screen, right? There is, if you can confirm.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So when you this is a screen when you log into the system. So to log in to the IBMi system, users are given user ID and password, which is unique to you. Like if you nobody can access your profile without accessing your password. So if you don't share your password, then you are secure. Your access will not be leaked to anyone else. And every user will have their own access restricted. For example, if I'm a developer, then I would have different access level than an system admin, because system admin might have to do a lot of work, which as a developer we don't have to do that. And if I'm a business user, then I may not have access as a developer also, because business users normally don't get this command line access, which they don't have to run the commands, but otherwise developers and architects get that, or system admins. Then there was another topic, as a menu driven system. So we call IBMi as a menu driven system. Here you can see IBMi main menu. So we are just after login, you will get a main menu. So you can see different menu options available. This menu options make it quite easy to use for either a developer or system architects or admins or business analyst, even business users as well. So you don't have to remember all the commands. You can easily access different operations using menu options. And then sometimes if you forget about any command, it's very easy to remember that commands also. IBMi has a lot of helping features. And for example, I'll show you in a bit, how you don't have to remember all the commands. For example, let's take an option one, which is user task. Now you can see different options related to user task are available. These are the different options, or you can call it as a sub options. For example, if I want to display or change my job. So when you log in to the system, this is my user ID, which will always be fixed, but this job and number will be changing every time I log in. So these are random numbers being generated by the operating system when you log into the system. And this QPA dev something is very important, because using this, you can identify that this is from dev session or a developer. And this is an interactive job also. This number will vary. So let's say, show you different jobs into the system. So I want to work with active jobs into the system. Okay. So as the name says, I have to work with active jobs. So I will type command as a WRK is for work, ACT for active, and job is job. So every command on IBMi will a combination of 3 plus 3 plus, and either it can be 1, and depending on what is your command, but it is a combination of three characters. So now you can see here this QPA dev, first 6 characters are same for all the interactive jobs, and these are the different names or usernames, and you can, by the name, you can identify who are those users, like Kushi, Hitesh, Himanshu, Shomi, Piyush, and this is mine, Nirmal. But this number will be different for each user. You will not see this as the same for anyone. Let's see here. Even you have user with the same name. For example, this Hitesh S. You can see, although he has same user, but the job name is different. Let's go to where we were. Okay, so now we are here, work with the job command. Now here again, you will have different sub options. If you want to check the job log, if you want to work with library list, open files, a lot of things which might be new for you, but over the time, over the next few sessions, you will understand more about all these options. Let's say if I want to check my log, but to a 10 and then take F10 for detailed messages. If I put my cursor here, press F10 and then F18 to go to the bottom. F18 means F12 plus F6, which is F18. So you have to press F18, you have to press Shift plus F6. Now you can see I have only run one command, so it's showing me only one command. When we come back again by running multiple commands, you will see multiple commands being running here, right? Same if you want to go to top F17, your keyboard will not have F17, so it would be Shift plus F5. So reduce the number F12 by reduce the number 12, I would say. So F17 minus 12 is 5. So Shift plus F5 is F17. Okay, now these menu driven or these menus are very useful for a non-technical person, I would say. But as a technical person, as a developer, we don't have to rely on these menu options. We can easily learn our commands. For example, if I want to change my password, right? For business users or a non-technical person, let's say business analyst, if they want to change their password, they will take an option 8 to change their password. They can enter current password and the new password and verify it, and they can change their password. But as a developer, what I will do, I will run commands to change my password. So as the name says, suggest change. So change would be CSG and password will be PWD, change password. Now the question comes, what if I don't remember those commands? How can I get my command? Okay, don't worry. I wanted to change my password. So either if I don't know if I don't know anything about commands, so you can just type C and X-tick and hit enter. You will see all the commands which starts character C. You can see here. Now, if let's say I can guess something, okay, CHG would be change. There you can see change. So all the change commands start with CHG. And I wanted to change password. So now I know it will start with, after CHG, it would be P, asterisk. Now here you can see, okay, I can get change password somewhere. Here it is, change password. But if you use these commands 1 or 2 times, you will remember all these commands. These are very easy. Let's see if I want to play around with these commands. I want to, check what all other commands are available. So just let's say I want to check what all commands start with the letter D. So D asterisk, hit enter. Now you can see all the commands which start with letter D. Okay, so you see a lot of commands for delete, right? So that means delete will always start with DLT. Now I know if I have to delete something, if I have to run any commands to delete something, I will start my command with DLT and put asterisk there. See, there are a lot of commands for delete. And even we don't remember all the commands, we don't learn all the commands. You can simply, for example, if I want to delete a journal receiver, so I don't know what is the command for that, but I know DLT is for delete, and journals, I know it will start with J. DLT and J and asterisk. You can see delete journals, delete journal receivers. Even you want to delete job description or job queue. What is the job queue, job description? We'll learn in a few minutes. So it's not necessary to learn all the commands over the time. Once you use this system, you will be used to for most popular commands, and then other commands, IBMi system will help you to find yourself. So this was about the menu driven system, which makes it very easy for non-technical person. It's very user friendly also. Okay, now coming to libraries and objects. Everything on IBMi system is an object. An object is something which is a runnable entity. And this is not same as Java object, but people who are using modern languages, you can relate it to the Java objects, but it is not the same. For example, if I have to create one program, or let's say I'm writing one product. Okay, I have built some product and I want to sell that product. So you will write some set of programs which will perform some action so that your whatever the features are there for your products, you will have programs for all the features. But you won't, when you sell your product, you won't send your programs to them. You will sell only objects to them. You will install or you will deploy objects only to those systems. Because if you send them source, then your product would be exposed to everyone and they can do whatever they want to do. And that's why once you create your program, you compile it will create an object. And after that, technically, you don't need that source. You can do everything from those objects only. But in order to maintain your product or your system, you need that source. So you will keep your sources on your development machine, but on your live machines or your client machines, you can send only objects. You don't need to send them source. You don't need to send deploy any sources to that. So everything is an object. There are multiple types of objects available. For example, database objects, program objects. Okay, even user profile is an object. So let's see what all objects are there with the name Nirmal. So here you can see type. So type is library, lib is library. So I have created one library. Library is just a schema. So schema is an object. User profile, user ID, which I use to log in. And this is a message queue where I will get the messages. Okay, so everything on IBMi system is an object. Okay, now as we were discussing about the library, so let's see what this library is. Library is basically a container of all objects. Okay, so all the objects will reside on your system in a library. Let's see what is there in this Nirmal library. Okay, so I want to work with the objects which reside in this Nirmal library. Okay, so as I remember, but if you don't remember, you can just do W and type enter, asterisk and hit enter. Now you can see work commands will start with WRK. Okay, and now I wanted to work with some objects. Okay, so I know this will start with WRK and some object. Okay, so this is the first command, work with objects. Select this command. Now there are different parameters. And now if I don't know what this parameter should be, take a cursor on this work with object command and press F1. F1 is for help. Now you will get help. So I would suggest after this session, play with the system. You will get an access. We'll send you the link how you can get access to the system. This is our lab server, but there are some public servers available where you can create your credentials and you can start using it. So you can run some commands, do an F1, read all these parameters, all this literature from the IBM itself. And this is the best way to learn the system. Okay. So because I already know that, so I'll explain you. So I wanted to work with the objects. I wanted to work with all objects which are there in library or schema. Library is same as an schema in Nirmal library. And let's see what all is there. So now you can see there are some RPGLE. So RPGLE is a programming language. So these are my program objects. PF, LF, those are database files. PF is a physical file. We'll learn more about PF and LF. So it has some database files, okay, as well. And maybe suggest people don't raise your hands, please. We'll be taking Q&A at the end, please. It's gets pop up continuously. Now let's see. Go to this library. Okay, I wanted to check what is a RPG program look like, what is a database looks like, because that's our next topic. What is objects, what is a library, and different type of objects. Okay, so let's go. Let's run that command again. So if you do F9, it will retrieve your commands. Whatever commands you have run to the system, it will retrieve your commands. So you can do F9 and it will retrieve. Now hit enter. Now I saw that. Okay, let's learn about database first. Although your next session is on database itself, you will learn more about what is a PF, what is an LF. I'll give you very brief about PF, LF, and RPG programs because next sessions will be doing in detail. So PF is physical file, which is same as a table. LF is a logical file, which is same as an quite same as an index. So physical files or the PF or the table means a container of your data. It actually stores your data. And LF, the logical file or the index is something a pointers to your data. So for example, let's take an example of this PMP EMPPF file. Okay, so let's see what is there in this. I wanted to run SQL. So SQL commands are same, str SQL. I want to start SQL session. Okay, and SQL would be the same as you are doing on other platforms. So I want to do select star from. Okay, now let's say if I do my table name, hit enter. It says this PIO EMPF in star libl type star file not found. But just now we saw that this does exist. Okay, but then why it is saying that it does not exist or it could not found that? The reason is few minutes back we mentioned that everything on IBMi is an object. An object reside in a particular library. So for IBMi system, whenever you specify any object, you have to mention their library name also with that. So this particular table was there in Nirmal library. So I need to put Nirmal slash my table name and then hit enter. Now you can see there is some data in my table. It says some employee records and their age. These are dummy records. So even Johnny Depp or Johnny Depp or Will Smith, they are not working with us, even not Amitabh. They are dummy names. If you want to do any, and very first session we mentioned that IBMi comes with their database. So this is their database. So you can run on SQL query also on the same machine where you are doing your programming. So you don't need a separate database. So this is my table. Now I had one logical file also on that. So this was my logical file, PIO EMP L1. PIO is like programmers.io short form. Okay, so F9 was to retrieve it. So I hit F9. Okay, so it can retrieve my previous SQL. If I do F9 again, it will retrieve before that F9. So you don't have to type each SQL again and again, you can retrieve it. So let's do what is there in AMP L1. Again, it shows the same because this is my logical file, which is a view to my physical file or a table. But if I wanted to check, structure of these tables, PF and LF. So let's go. For that, you have to run a command, and this would be very useful to you. Work member PDM. Okay. Although in this session, we are doing all the development on ACS, which is our traditional emulator or editor. But going forward, we'll be giving a session on VS Editor, VS Code, which is very popular nowadays, and we all are using that because there are a few commands I wanted to share. That's why I'm using this. Otherwise, most of the session would be on VS Code. Okay, so when I did a work member PDM, again, you have to mention here which library you want to work and which source file. So source file is a file which contains all of your source information. Few minutes back, I mentioned that a program will have, combination of a source file as an object. So when you compile a source, it will create an object. And after that, you don't need source. But we always keep that source because if you want to manage it, maintain it, modify it, you need source. So that is the source file. So this is my source file, and it says work with member using PDM is program development management. You can get more details here. You know what this does, what all options are there. Everything would be here. Programming development manager, even full form would be here. Okay, let's see structure of my PF and LF. So if I take option 5, 5 is for display. Okay, here all the options would be available. If you want to edit it, you can edit it. If you want to do some changes, you can do it. For example, let's change column heading. But if I compile it, then all my data would be lost. So I will not do it here. But if you want to change it, you can do the changes here. So you can see I had 3 columns, employee ID, name, and age, and it was the same. But if I go to my logical file, this is my logical. Here you can see I mention only one field with the K. K is for key field. That means this logical is based on my this physical file. So this logical is based on my PF, which is my P file, physical file, EMP PF, and it is a logical and it has a key as an EMP ID. Now, there's another commands which you will learn more about in next session. So for example, if I check, if I wanted to check, if I want to display fields of my PF, so DSP F and put asterisk, hit enter, you will get commands. You can see display file description, display file field description. I wanted to display field description. I'll put this, my file name, library. So here you will get more information. Like that was your source. It will have more attributes, like what is the attributes for my fields, buffer length, everything would be here. And let's say do the same thing for my logical also. F9 is for retrieve. Take an F4. F4 is for prompt. I wanted to, let's say, check what all parameters are there. So take an F4, change the file name and hit enter. Here you can see it will mention the type of the file is logical. Okay, and it will also mention the based on like what particular file this is based on. I think it would be different command. And now here it will mention, all the fields of that your physical file also. So we will learn more about in next session. And then there are a few sessions available on our YouTube channel. So you go and watch there also. Now, second type will touch in brief about the programs. So there are two type of programs, RPGL and SCL, which is most widely, I would say, programming language on IBMi system. So I created one very small dummy program um, in this source file because there would be another session. This is my program, and it does nothing. It just displays a few messages. Let's run this. Okay, so you can. There are a lot of opcodes, built-in functions, which you will learn in next coming sessions, which using which you can create all of your RPG programs. So I've just created one dummy program which displays, that this is an internship program, which is available for university students all over the world. Again, this was again question, so I thought of taking this example in my session itself. People were asking, is this internship program limited to any particular country or any particular university? No, it is not. This internship is available all over the world for all universities. So I have to compile. As we mentioned, once you compile, it will create an object. So take 14 and you will see that it will create a bind RPG program and hit enter. I'm not going in details what is create bind RPG because there are separate sessions available for that. Otherwise, our session would be for, it can take 24 hours. It's created. So it says program PIO placed in library this 00 was the highest severity. That means it was created successfully. Now let's check what is this PIO now. So you do work obj and take F4. I wanted to check object PIO, and library I wanted to check in my all library. Okay, star all. So now you can check. Okay, that was another user have also created this, but this is mine, which is library Nirmal, and this is my program object. If I take 8 on it, I wanted to display a description. Here I will get more details, like this is the object name, where it resides, what is the attribute. This is RPG program. Who is the owner? Who created that? What was the text? When it was created? Who created that? And on what system it was created? You can have more details. What is the size? Is it compressed or not? Okay. And again, as I said, if you don't know what is the meaning of that, take an F1 on this command display object description, and you will get all the information. Everything would be here. And this is the best way to learn IBMi system. Okay. Now, if I have to call this program, okay, so there are different options available. For now, you can remember it. C is for, you can take shortcut as a C. Otherwise, there is an option call. I wanted to call this program. My program name is PIO. If I call it, again, same error. It says program PIO in library list not found. I'll share you the library list also. Why it says me this is not found in library list? Take an F1 on this error. It says the program specified on the call command cannot be found, but it says it is not found in your library list. What is the library list? Again, this is also very important. Whenever you log into the system, it will set up your library list. Okay, so I wanted to display my library list. Now I know display would be DSP, and library is something should start with L. So DSP L, and let's see what is there. Display library, but I wanted to my library list. So display library list. Take F1, take one, hit enter. I don't want to print it, so I'll just type strict. Strict is for display, print is to print it. Now you can see this is my library list. So all these libraries are part of my particular job. That means whenever I search any object or I call any command, it will check that object in these libraries only. It will not check any other library. But if you don't want to mention library name always, that you are working on a system and you want, I don't want to give library name at always. So what you can do, you can edit your library list and mention your library here. Okay, now we saw that display DSP is for display library list, DSP LIBL. So the edit should be something related to E, or let's say I don't know what is there. So I put asterisk and hit enter. Okay, now you can see all the edit starts with EDT. And here is my edit library list. Take one, hit enter. There's nothing, hit enter again. Now this is my library list. Wait a minute. Now here I can see only two libraries, but when I displayed, it was showing more than two. Let's do it again. DSP LIBL. See, these two library I can see in my edit also, but these were not available. Now, how does this comes? I'll tell you in brief. This is part of my system library list. So whenever users log in, this will always be there by default. And this is all related to system. You can check here. This is system libraries. So you can't edit that. Even you can't remove it. And you can't change the sequence also. So let's edit our customized library list, EDT LIBL. And one more thing, once you identify any command, do not copy paste, always type it. Typing multiple times will help you to remember. If you copy paste, then you will not remember those commands. So always type it. Even it is available in front of you, don't take one here. Type it edtlibl, and let's say if I enter my library here, nirml nirmal, and if I do same call command, so F9 was to retrieve. Okay, so okay, this was my program. If I do a call PIO, now you can see it did not give me any error because it was now able to find my program in my library list because I added Nirmal in my library list. Okay, hit I enter again. So there were two instructions which we discussed. Now let's do my SQL again. Now this time I will run my queries without my library name, and it should not give me that error. So this was the SQL which gave me error first. If you put a cursor here and do F9, it will retrieve this particular SQL statement. Now you can see here is EMP-L1. If you do F9 by putting cursor here, it will retrieve this particular SQL statement. If I run here, it will not give me any error. You can see here because I've added Nirmal in my library list. Okay, so this was all about objects, PF, LF, RPGLE, CL, commands also in brief, not in detail, because there are separate sessions for PF, LF, and all these commands. Also, you will over the time you will learn these commands. Okay, so PF, LF. I'll just brief you about one slide. So the key difference between PF and LF, and one more thing, we'll be sharing these slides on our Skype group. So if you have not attended or if you're not participated in our Skype group, please we'll share the link again at the end of the session. You can join it again. So physical file stores the actual data, and logical file is not, it doesn't store the actual data, it is just an display or access path for your data. You can insert, update, delete using PFs, and you can view or filter data based on your LF. PF is a primary storage of the data, and LF is just for sorting, filtering for your data. And we saw two examples, PIO, EMPPF, and PIO, EMPL1. RPG, in brief, we touched about PF. Again, CL, I have not shared an example of the CL because CL is basically you can relate this with a scripting language where you can run some commands in your RPG program itself. There are many commands, which we were running on the command line. If you want to run those commands in a sequence, in a batch, then you can do via CL, which is a scripting language. It is also called control language. Okay, so these are some commands which you can learn. We'll share this PPT also with you, slide deck. Okay, now this is again very important topic, work management. Work management is quite useful and it's very easy, but still a lot of people face many issues to understand this particular topic. So as the name suggests, work management is to manage your work on your IBMi system. And the work is performed in terms of jobs. Like, so whenever you enter into the system, as soon as you enter into the system, it will create one job for you. As you know, we have seen that work job, very first command was work job during menu option. So that is again a job. And then when we do a work active job, I was showing you different interactive jobs, right? So there are two type of jobs available in IBMi system. One is interactive and another one is the batch. So the interactive would be when you log into the system, it creates an interactive means where you can interact with the system. That's why it is called interactive. It will not do anything until unless you instruct something. So let's say if I'm on this screen, it will not do anything automatically. I have to instruct, okay, I need to go to my work active job and then hit enter, then only it will go to my next screen. Otherwise, it will not go. And batch is something where you don't have to pass any instructions manually. You have to pass instructions using programmatically. That is called batch job. So for example, if I want to, for example, let's say I am a mutual fund company and I want to calculate commissions for my brokers, okay, my agents. So you will create a program, you will write some set of instructions to calculate commissions for your brokers, agents. And of course, on your system, you will have thousands of brokers, a lot of mutual funds or shares or whatever is there on the system. You have bought that, which they have bought, they have sold basically. So you want to give them commission. So it would be very lengthy process. So for that, you might want to run this process at your night, so that when you comes in the morning, you have the calculation, you have the reports available for the commissions for your broker, which you can pay out. So this is a typical example where your you can create a batch program which you can run at the end and the night time, and then it will give you the results. So for example, or take an example of a banking system, right, where on day to day it has done a lot of transactions, account opening, account closing, or it wanted to check dormant accounts. So all those processing you might not do in the daytime. You will keep this at the night where the less users are available on the system and there is less pressure on the system, like it's not system is heavily used. All these process you can keep for your night time. There you will run the batch jobs. And now coming to the next one, subsystem. As we saw, there are two type of jobs, interactive and batch. Now you don't want these two types of job interfere with each other. If I'm logged into the system, I want a dedicated resources from my system. I want dedicate memory, I want dedicate CPU, other resources. So you can divide your IBMi system in a small systems, small subsystems, big IBM systems into different subsystems. So let's say for interactive jobs, you will have Q inter. For the batch jobs, you will have Q batch. And then if let's say there are some communication with outside world, you can have a separate subsystem for that uh, particular process. And let's say if you want to do your end of process in a separate subsystem, you can create a separate subsystem for that. You can create this. So when you purchase IBMi system, it is shipped with some subsystems, but you can create your own subsystems as well. And you can define memories, whatever resources you want to assign that subsystem. So it's very easy, once you understand what is a job, how this is being processed. Again, job, as we said, whenever whatever work is being done on the IBMi system is done in form of jobs. And when you submit a job, when you want your system to do something, then you will do, for example, you wanted to create commissions for your agents. So you will have a set of programs and you will wanted to run them in a sequence. So you will create a CL script where you will say call program 1, then call program 2, call program 3 and 4 and so on. And then you will schedule your job at the night. For that, you will have a scheduler available in the IBMi system. And let's say at the night time, for example, at midnight, I want to submit my job. So you can mention, let me show you how you schedule your jobs also. It's a bit advanced, but we can do it quickly. So I wanted to schedule my job. So I wanted to work with job and schedule. Okay, it would be work job scheduling entry. E would be there. Okay, so these are my scheduled jobs. And if you want to add new, you can do F6. Now you can mention, you can give your job name, what commands you want to run. These are your CL commands. What is the frequency? Let's say I want to do it daily or weekly or monthly. If I'm paying my commissions, let's say weekly, I'll do it weekly. If I'm paying my commissions monthly, I can do it monthly. If you're paying it daily, then you can do it daily also. What time you want to submit, what day you want to submit, time. Okay, and then you can also mention, now this is the job queue. Okay, now we saw that your system is divided in different subsystem. And if you want your jobs, this particular jobs or your end of day jobs to run a particular subsystem, you cannot give that instructions to your job directly. You have to do it via job queues. So whenever a job enters to a system or a subsystem, before entering to a subsystem, it resides on a job queue. So all the jobs would be queued up in a job queue, and then job queue will send those jobs to a subsystem. So it's like, for example, when you enter in a school or a cinema hall, you would be in a queue. And based on your, let's say you are going in cinema hall, and if you purchase a ticket, one maybe, upper class, one maybe, let's say, middle class. So if you have upper class ticket, they will send you to different class, and if it's middle, then it will send you to different based on your ticket. So same in the job queues. When you submit your jobs to a queue, the job queues, every queue would be assigned with a subsystem, and it will only send your job to that subsystem only. So if, let's say, I've created a subsystem for my end of day jobs, let's say QEOD, then I'll create a job queue also for my end of day, and I will submit all my jobs to that particular job queue, so that at the night it will submit my that jobs from that queue to a particular subsystem only. And user is basically, under what user profile you want to run your jobs. Let's see what is a job queue. Okay, we were discussing, it might be confusing to you. So I wanted to work with job queues. Now you can see these are all the job queues in my system. Okay, if I take an example, for example, I take an example of queue batch. Okay, if I wanted to work with it, take an option 5. Now you can see there is no jobs in this queue. That means whatever was submitted in this job queue is being completed. And if I wanted to check in which particular subsystem these jobs will land from this particular job queue. So now you can see here F21, which is like shift plus F9. So if I take shift plus F9, which is F21, it will tell me which particular subsystem is attached with this particular job queue. Let's take shift F9. So this is a queue-based subsystem. Now the queue-based subsystem will run all the jobs coming from queue batch job queue. Now we are already in the subsystem, so let's work with the subsystem also. But before that, there were a few more functions keys available which you can play around on your lab servers, on your public lab servers. Do a shift F9. Now I am here on my queue-based subsystem. If I wanted to check about this subsystem, I'll take option 5. Now you can see different options available. Will not go much detail about all the options, but this is very important. Just now we saw that a job queue is attached with a subsystem. That means there should be a relationship between job queue and subsystem. It should be saved somewhere. So it is saved in your subsystem. Subsystem will have entry about a job queue. If I take option 6, you will see something interesting. So this subsystem has multiple job queues attached. That means this subsystem is not dedicated for only one job queue. There are multiple jobs queues which can pass on their jobs to this subsystem. So one subsystem can have multiple jobs queues attached to it, but one job queue will be attached with only one subsystem. It cannot be attached with two subsystems. Okay, so now you can see here, this subsystem has all these job queues attached. So this was brief about job queues, subsystems, jobs into the IBMi. There is another job scheduling also we have seen. This is very key to manage your systems. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left. I'll quickly, there is another important topic, license program, but before that, I'll do out queue also. So out queue is basically, so let's say when you go to a cinema hall, you were in a queue, like there would be different queues based on your tickets, and you go to this cinema hall, and once you complete your movie, you will come out from the cinema hall. The same process applies here also. When you submit your jobs to a job queue, then job queues will be attached to a particular subsystem, and then once it completes its processing, it comes out from that subsystem and it resides on an out queue. Out queue, traditionally this system was developed to generate reports. So the full form of RPG is also a report generator program. As of now, it is not a report generation system. It does much more beyond report generation, but initially it was designed for reports only. So that's why out queues were there. So once you complete your, let's say I wanted to generate some reports. So after report calculation is complete, it will be on out queue. And from that out queue, it would be waiting for its turn to print. And those were being printed on physical printers. It happens today also. Like a lot of systems has a lot of printing jobs where you have write RPG programs to generate some print reports and it would be printed. But in other programs which is not related to printer, it will not print anything. It will have it logs, like whatever system processing it has been done, that log would be available on outqueue. So let's say there was a job which ended in error. No, it could not complete successfully. It can be any reason. Maybe the database was full, or there was some junk data available, and job crashed. So you can go to the out queue and check the log, what was the problem, and fix it accordingly. That's why where this out queues are there. And there are different commands which you can play around, work with out queue, change out queue, create out queue. You will not have an access to your lab servers because these are again related to admin. Okay, so this is our last topic, license program. Whenever you purchase IBMi system from either from IBM or via reseller, it comes with some license programs installed on it. And some license programs are bundled with your system, and there are some license programs which are optional, and you have to pay separate for it because these are not required for all uh, businesses. So that's why IBM has separated license cost for optional licenses. So you can only perform those actions for which you have purchased those license. Now, if you want to see what all licenses are available on my system, I wanted to check my license program. So there's a slight different command here. You wanted to learn this, I would say go to license program. Okay. So instead of only license program, you have to type here go. So now you are working with license program. Let me check. Is it? Oh, no, this command is not there. So it would be go license program only. Again, this command is not being used by developers. This is mainly for system admins. I'm just giving you for reference so that you can relate whenever someone talks about, okay, I'm not able to do this because you don't have license for that particular process. Now, if I wanted to check what all license are being installed on my particular this labs machine, which is programmers.io lab machine, if you take option 10, this will display all of my license. Okay. So based on description, you can check, for example, I have my system compatible with system 36 and system 38 also. There are still some business who have some old programs which were written 30, 40 years back. Most of you were not born at that time. People are running those programs still on the system, and it is running fine. So IBM has given that capability that you can still run old programs. If you wanted to run some Q shell commands, you will have separate license for it. If you want to take a backup and wanted to have ability to restore your system, you will have separate license, which is called 5770 BR1, which is for backup, recovery, and manage media services. In short form, it is BRMS. Okay, then AFP, these are some printers. I think these are going out to support now, but you have separate license for that. And okay, so this is very interesting. You can run Java programs also on your IBMi system. So Java developers can also use this system. It's not only RPGCL. Even there are multiple languages which this system performs, like Node.js, PHP. I think Python also, R language is also being supported, but Java is most widely used after RPG, I would say. And IBM has given environment for that also, and you have license. You have to purchase license also for that. So, for example, we have, because we are using this lab machine for one of our product, which is quite popular product in the market called IE Impact Analysis, and that is being built on Java and Angular as a front end and RPG as a back end, and that resides on IBMi system. So that Java, that product, the core of that product is Java and Angular, and the backend is RPG. Then ILE, you will learn more about ILE. So you have a separate license for that. There was another, for example, if you want to do XML toolkit, you should have a separate license for it. If you want to do web queries, now what is web query? Again, you can go to Google and search it, or uh, I'm not sure we have license. Yes, we have license on it. And then see, you can have COBOL also. You can have C language, C++ on IBMi system. So there are multiple languages. I did not mention C, C++. I haven't seen any practical example of it, but if there are any developers in this session who are C or C++ developer, can still use this system to run your C programs. Even COBOL programs, you can run it. So this is about license program. One last thing, I'll take in last, I think we have 4 or 5 minutes left. I wanted to check, I wanted to give you some commands which are related to IBMi admin, not with the developer, but developers also use this a lot. I wanted to check my system status. Is it in a good state or not? So for that, you can run a command. I wanted to work. So by this time, you might have known that work is WRK and system is SYS, work with sys. If I don't know what is after that, put a strict, hit enter. You can see it here. I wanted to work with status, work with system status. So I take one, it will take few seconds. Now you can see here, what is the system storage? Almost 200 GB of data I have, 200 GB of capacity in my system I have. This is a lab server, so it's not that big. Normally on your production machine, you have database in terabytes, 1 or 2 or maybe 5, even more than that also. 80% of my system is being used. That means only 20% is available, which is not a good sign. I have to do something to make it below 70%. Now it says how many users are signed on. There are 37 users actively working on this system. How many batch jobs? There is nothing messages, but there are 124 batch jobs running into the system. Okay, and there are 2 jobs which are scheduled and waiting for it process to come. There are 5 jobs which are held on job queues. That means someone has put on hold on that. So this is some commands you can play around. Of course, on the lab server, I'm not sure you will have access to that, but work with active jobs. You can check. Okay, one more thing, quickly, CPU percentage. Normally, people may ask why it has more than 100%. How it can use more than 100%, right? Like you have purchased whatever CPU in your laptops, desktop, you will never see that. But in IBMi, you have these options available because there's a facility called uncapping. That means I have purchased this system without capping. For example, this is a cloud machine from IBM itself. So if my server, this particular machine is running on a particular data center and there are multiple machines available, and let's say one machine is being used by a US client. So currently it's their early morning or their business has not started yet. So they are not using their machine effectively. So I can use some of their CPU and it's valid. It's not something we are thefting something. This is facility given by IBM itself. So we can use some of the CPU. And same thing can happen when our teams log offs. It's typically we log off around 8 or 9 p.m. India time. People may work but normally most of the people will go out by 8 p.m. So after that, our system would be idle. So instead of putting it idle, the CPU can be utilized by other system if we are not utilizing. But if I need that CPU, then I would get first preference. Now you can see, if I put cursor here and do a F16, which is for sorting it. So if do a F24 more keys, which is shift plus F12, you will check what all other function keys are available. So F16 is resequence. So I want to sort my system using CPU percentage. Now you can see there are some users who are heavily using CPU percentage. Like 13% is too much, 3% is again too much. But this is some of my Java process. JVM is something related in Java. Okay, and then this person is running maybe some heavily commands, which or maybe some of their jobs in loop. That's why it is using 13.7, which is not useful. But you will see normally this is the CPU percentage. Okay, and if you want to update this statistics, is it active or not? Again, do a shift F4, shift F12, which is F24. F13 is to reset statistics. Do a F13, which means shift F1. So now you can see my CPU is again back to normal. It's almost 3%, which is typically a system should look like. So this was about license program, and we are almost on time, and this is the time for Q&A. Okay, I wanted Dheeraj, can you take Q&A because I might need to rush for another meeting. But again, thank you everyone for your time today and taking this session. And Dheeraj, please send them Skype link also, so that
Okay.
we can take Q&A there also. If we are not able to complete all the Q&A, you can take whatever you can, and we'll stop recording also. And please send Skype link on YouTube also.
Yes, I'll share all the links.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for your time, and see you soon on our Skype group, and we can discuss questions there also. And we will be, Dheeraj would be sharing you installation instructions, assignments, and everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. So yes, I have shared all the links in the chat of the Zoom. So you can access the assignments from there. I have also given the link from where you can download the PUB 400 and Mochasoft. The instruction for the installation is given in the document. I've also attached the uh, link for the Skype group and VS Code. Also, link for the YouTube is attached there. Let's go through the Q&A session. So yes, anyone who is joining the Skype group, there will be some error which will so that you can't join the group right now, but you have joined that group. Okay, don't worry if you see those error. To install the IBMi server, I have attached the document link. All the instructions are given there for the PUB 400 and Mochasoft, so you can download and set up that server on your PC or laptop. All the recording for the sessions are available on the YouTube channel. You can access all the recordings from there also. You can rewatch the session, and if you close the system after scheduling any jobs, then the jobs will be run at the scheduled time.
This is be done. My client did not run. So
Okay, so should we close this session?
okay. So have you taken? Have you given all the links?
Yes, I have pasted all the links in this Zoom chat, and let me paste it on YouTube also.
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be helpful. I think there are very few people on the YouTube, but yes. Again, thank you everyone, and sorry we could not take Q&A much today, but you can join our Skype group, and we'll connect there. Please save that Skype group link, all of you, please. Seems people are joining. So once you join, we'll share that. Okay, I think people might have saved it by the time, or